can you end this with beatboxing, please? Can we get a beatbox?
Everybody always asks for the beatbox. Yeah. No.
Damn, Porter.
Maybe we'll change our theme song to that. That was...
All right, welcome to another episode of Throwbacks presented by Cash App. Sending, spending, saving, splitting, tipping, donating, gifting, or just typing in numbers, all with the #1 finance app in the App Store. That's money. That's Cash App. Matt Leinart. You know what I want to lead off with this show right now because I'm so hyped up? Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose.
So good.
Friday Night Lights alum Scott Porter, a.k.a. Jason Street's going to be joining us later, which I'm so fired up for. He's a huge college football fan, too. But I know him for a long time. I just think that, and they just announced Friday Night Lights reboot is pretty much on and going. It's going to be a new storyline. I think it would be foolish not to invite some old cast member. Like, clearly Jason Street could be coaching somewhere, right?
God, what a stud. And also just... looked into, my wife has a just ultimate crush on him and pretty much every guy in that show, and he just looks into the video and just gives her a clear shout out. It was amazing. What a great dude. What iconic show. Like Entourage,
legendary,
iconic show. Kind of the same time. It was the same years. You guys were kind of on that
kind of the same time. And when I always get asked the reboot question, and my take with Entourage is it's just hard to think what it would be, but sure, I guess it could happen. But Friday Night Lights is such a clear reboot. You could drop in at any point, change schools, just stay in West Texas or wherever it is, under the lights on Friday, get a good little love triangle in there, and we're off to the races, right?
the love triangle, yeah. It's a great show. He's awesome, man. What a multi-talented guy, too. Unbelievable, just... we talk about versatility in our world, of sports studio shows, in any industry, the more you can do, the better. If you look Scott up and just his resume and his IMDb page and he's truly remarkable. Everything that he's been able to do, and what a great dude, man. And you guys used to rock fantasy football together all
the time. I'm out on fantasy. I even told him on text.
Yeah,
I'm like, Scott, why? I'm out on fantasy. I bet now. And he's like, what? That's ridiculous. He's still hanging on.
I have a spot open up in my league for next year. Come on, dude.
It's going to be really hard to get me back in.
Lame.
It's going to be really hard to get me back in.
What's it going to cost? What's it going to cost?
That's what I mean. I have to sign an NIL deal to join your fantasy league. It did inspire our Throwback 3 today. So in honor of Scott Porter, a.k.a. Jason Street, joining us, we're going to do our Throwback 3 best fictional quarterbacks in movies or TV shows. That'll be later in the show. But we said Triangle 3. Speaking of things of 3, you this weekend have something happening. You're going to 3 places this weekend.
Christmas is coming early for me.
Let the audience know, because to me, this is what I would want for Christmas, is this exact trip.
Without all the just super in the weeds details. So this weekend is the first weekend of college football playoff. 12 teams, right? Everybody's super excited. Got a couple great NFL games on Saturday. It's they're going head to head, but it's kind of what everybody's want, right? This is the first March Madness-esque for college football. So my oldest committed to SMU. So we're originally going to Penn State SMU game all the way over to State College. Was just there a month ago. Hell of a travel day for us. Yeah. But you know what? You only get to do these things once in a lifetime with my oldest. So I said, screw it. We're going. Let's go. So we were going in the stands. We're sitting, fans, SMU, rocking, whatever. I'm total dad mode, okay? I get a text from a buddy that's hey, what time is that game? All these games are lining up or telling the times. And he's like, why don't you fly out to Notre Dame or Chicago Friday, come to the Notre Dame Indiana game. Brady Quinn, my buddy on the show with me, he's obviously going to be there. And this other friend is friends with both of us. He's like, let's go to that game. And then we'll just fly over on the plane over to Columbus that night. you can take the plane over to Penn State the next morning. The Penn State game's a noon Eastern game.
So sick.
Fly it back. We'll go do dinner in Columbus. And this is one of my best buddies. So it's like, he's like family. He's like, fly it back. We'll go to dinner, and then we'll go to Ohio State, Tennessee that night. And while I'm having this conversation, I'm in the car on speaker. I'm driving on speaker, and Cole is looking at me like
freaking out.
Like, what, Dad? What? Is it happening? Is it happening? So we're going to Notre Dame, Indiana, Friday night. We're flying to Columbus that night. We're waking up. We're taking the plane over to State College on Saturday morning. We might actually be in a suite that game. I don't know, but it's freezing. But we're watching that game at noon. We're coming back. It's about a 45-minute flight. We're coming back. We got a great dinner down in on Hyde Street, or what's it? I don't even know the street in Columbus, but the street we're always at when we're in Ohio. And then we're going to the night game, which is an 8:00 Easter game, Ohio State, Tennessee. The next morning we're coming home. So I would have been gone the same amount of time. I'm actually home earlier, leaving from Columbus and State College. But I mean, 3 of the 4 playoff games this weekend, we will be in attendance. Shout out to my boy. Cool experience. It's not like I get to do that thing all the time. So
I don't think that
is, it's just wild. It's just like it couldn't have worked out, like the timing and the proximity of each place. It just like literally couldn't have worked out any better, I guess. And we're doing it, man. We're gonna do it.
That's a dream trip for any sports fan, let alone college football fan. But here's to me the thing that makes it iconic for you. Your son's gonna be with you. Even if you were just doing that with friends, like, Matt and his buddies, that's an unbelievable. You could do that would be the greatest bachelor party. That would be the greatest bucket list, like just whatever. But the fact that you're doing it with your kid who's getting ready to go off to college, getting used to traveling west to east, he's going to have to do that in his profession.
He's going to be miserable Saturday. I said, buddy, there's going to be absolutely zero complaining these 48 hours. I don't care if you sleep 3 hours Friday night.
Don't say nothing.
Yeah, this weekend is going to be. You know what? It's such a good point, man, because like we've talked about this on the show, but like it's like we wear a lot of hats, man, as dads and moms and work and this and that. But for me to watch my kid live out like what I was able to do, and he gets to do that in his own way. And now he's committed to this school. He's just so fired up. It's just awesome to see, right? It's like, I'm just so proud of him, right? So it's not even me. Football, it's not even me. It's just me, Dad. And then this weekend came up, and like I've been traveling every weekend all fall, and it's a lot of travel, as you know. And we connect everywhere, and it's not easy to get to. And then with State College, I'm like, oh my God, it's like the hardest place to get to from LA. Literally. It's like, it's just miserable.
Right.
But he looked at me, he's like, Dad, I really want to go, man. Like, it's once in a lifetime. And I'm looking at him like, you're right. Like, who cares? We're going to sit in a plane. We're going to watch a movie. We're going to hang out. Like, I'm going to get that one-on-one time with him. I miss a lot of his stuff in the fall. Like I miss a lot with the family, but I miss every one of his high school games on Friday night, which kills me. So I told the wife, she goes, go, like, just do it. We never get that opportunity again. So, and then obviously it just got enhanced, like freaking like unbelievable.
Just kept getting better. It just kept getting better.
It would have been amazing if we were just there for Penn State. Like we were rocking Penn State. We were getting State College. We were going to do dinner Friday night. We were going to brave the winter elements Saturday, root for SMU, and go to dinner that night and come home.
And
Sunday.
maybe even a Ferrara surprise showing in Columbus. Only 90 minutes away.
I'll believe it when I see it, dude. I'll believe it when I see it. You've got a ticket to Ohio State, Tennessee, and putting this out there right now. Jerry has a ticket to Ohio State, Tennessee in the suite. Nice steak dinner before, good wine, nice suite. You don't have to sit outside. Maybe a little snow, about 25 degrees there. You get to be in the shoe to watch Ohio State versus Tennessee. It's great.
I've never been.
100,000 people, hour and a half trip down the road, go back to sleep. You wake up with your kids the next morning. Like they wouldn't even know you're gone.
You make a great case, Matt Leinart. I'm just basically going to show this part of the pod to Bree and just be like, what's your thoughts?
By the way, I mean,
what are your thoughts?
It's a work trip for us.
It is a work trip. We'll do some fun stuff.
It's a great weekend of college football. The portal has been a big story this week. And
you've been sending me so much stuff, and my mind is spinning. So we have something for everybody.
Yeah, we have a good friend of mine, Bruce Feldman, coming on here in a little bit to kind of just explain what the portal is, right? Because we just saw in the prime example is the backup quarterback for Penn State. Bo Perbula, who's a good player, plays a lot for them, kind of a package deal. Whatever. He announced that he's going in the portal. That means he's not going to the game this weekend. Like, it's pretty simple. Like, so he's leaving the team early, not by choice. James Franklin came out this week and said, this is what's problem with the rules now, is this kid was going to leave after the season because Drew Aller announced he's coming back, but he is forced to leave during this window to ensure that basically he has a job or a spot that's lined up on the other side. It's in a way almost kind of taking over like what the story is, and that's the games, and the games will be great. But we have Bruce coming on to kind of just break it down, which Bruce is the best in the business. He's our insider at Fox, and he does an incredible job of kind of just like breaking it down. Like, what is the portal now? Why is the window now? The window that comes in April. Is there an easy fix? What has to happen? So it's wild times, man. Wild.
That's
times.
the game. So really quick, and because Bruce is going to come on in a second, really quick too. I was just looking at the games and the lines. You know me, I like to put some coins on the. Well, there's no way. By all accounts, the kid who left in the transfer portal was very, very well liked by coaches. This was not so there's going to be no bad blood, meaning within the locker room of Penn State, other than the fact that he is a part of some packages and has played, even though he's the backup quarterback.
Well, it makes him thin at the most important position. And if
because I'm looking at SMU, I like vibes. Our boy, your boy, our boy Cole's there.
I think they're getting 8.5.
I look for signs, 8.5. So I am looking at that.
Like that.
If I do go either way, I could never take Tennessee no matter what. I have to go OSU no matter what. That's the one I'm most toss up to me. We just asked Bruce. I'm gonna feed off you guys, but I am gonna be putting down some coin. But I'm very interested in that Penn State SMU game now because there's emotional storylines, and that's where you get me. That's where you get me.
I would, before we go, Penn State to me has a chance to make a run at the national championship. And I it's because of their path. If they beat SMU, they would play Boise State at a neutral site. Then they would play the winner of potentially Georgia, maybe Notre Dame. Obviously Georgia's up and down, but like I'm just telling you, Penn State kind of like weirdly has it's a really good football team that has a path to make a run that no one is really talking about. But obviously, I'll take SMU in the points. SMU's good, man.
There's a lot of points
really
out there, though.
There are a lot of points. There are a lot of points. It makes me a little nervous, but they are home games, though. You got to remember, like that's a big deal. Texas is getting like what? It's a 12, 11
Texas
points?
is laying 12. That's why too. For me, I like Texas.
Notre Dame's laying what? 7.5.
Notre Dame's 7.5. Notre Dame's 7.5. OSU 7.5. Penn State 8.5. Texas 12.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick Texas to cover because that's the only game you're not going to. And to me, that's going to be the blowout. You're going to be like, look, we even dodged the blowout. We dodged the 42-7
that's a good shot of being a blowout,
halftime,
though. I think that's a good shot of being a blowout. I don't see Clemson scoring a ton in that game. So, and Clemson has struggled against, outside of SMU, they struggled against, I think they played Georgia and South Carolina, the only two teams ranked they played during the regular season, and they couldn't even move the ball. Now, they scored, obviously, SMU, but Texas's defense is unreal. So I like that one. That's a safe pick. All right, now we welcome in my good buddy, Bruce Feldman, our Big Noon Kickoff college football insider, senior college football writer for The Athletic, and co-host of Bruce and the Bear. Brucey, what up, baby? How you doing, man?
What's up, guys? Good to be on. Finally made the big time. Thank you for finally inviting me, Matt.
Well, we haven't gotten invited on your pod. I mean, you do like a million pods, but maybe one day we'll get on there. All right, so wanted to bring you on, obviously, because this weekend is a big weekend because it's college football playoff 12 team. Everyone's really excited for it. I almost feel like, unfortunately, it's been a little overshadowed by the portal news and just like, I think I read like 2,000 kids somewhere around there in the portal in this go around. The big one was Bo Perbula, who's playing in a college football game. He left before a college football game. Can you just explain the portal? Why now? Obviously, there's another window in the springtime. How it's affecting these players and how it's affecting these teams now and moving forward.
Yeah, it's mass free agency. So the Bo Perbula story, and he's not just a backup quarterback at Penn State.
Yeah, he
as
plays.
You know, Matt. He's a big part of the game plan. They have a package for him because he's a dual threat quarterback. You see him in games. He's accounted for 9 touchdowns. He felt like he had no choice if he was going to move on for next year. You got to remember these things. So this is the last week for official visits for transfers. Also, if he was going to do an official visit, Penn State's playing in the game on Saturday. They have a playoff game. So he would have missed practice time, preparation time. They felt like he couldn't really do that. And as a quarterback, it's different if you're a receiver, if you're a defensive lineman. Schools can take multiple. You're only taking one quarterback. So it's essentially like a game of musical chairs.
Right.
If somebody else gets the spot first, you got to look elsewhere. And I think that's hard. And it's really hard for him because, as he said, Pennsylvania kid, grew up dreaming of playing for Penn State. Now they're in the playoff. It's a home game. You've been in Happy Valley for big games. I mean, he's going to miss that. But he felt like he had another choice because the timetable, when they have this portal window, it's ridiculous because it butts up against the postseason. And if Penn State keeps winning, he wouldn't have been able to do anything until probably January 20th. So what I think you will have happen at some point is there will be only one portal window, and it'll be in the late spring, in that late April to May range after spring football. But what you got to keep in mind, I know a lot of people rant about this. There is no easy fix for this, because to move it from, at that point, there also know you're probably getting lawsuits that'll come up because players will argue, hey, regular students can transfer at mid-year. Why can't we? Football coaches can go take another job at mid-year. Why can't we? And so once you get into that issue, that's what a lot of the schools and the NCAA, I think, is really worried about, is that if you move it away, this one window and reduce it to only, spring window, you're going to get lawsuits. And that's why people can think, oh, it's an easy fix to do that. It's not an easy fix.
Yeah, because what does it look like for him if he said, well, I really want to play in the national championship, in the playoffs. I want to try to compete for a national champion. He has 5 touchdowns this year. So he's there is a package for him. If he waits, what does that second window look for him? Just like he's kind of out of a job almost.
He might be out of opportunities because there's only so many spots. Look, to a lesser degree, Matt, you're seeing this with Cole, his son, where it's like you have to look at the board of who else is going. Like, schools aren't investing, and literally now it's investing in multiple quarterbacks. You're either the guy or they move on to somebody else. And I think for him, especially as a dual threat quarterback, there's certain systems he feels like that are going to be best for him. And I think what you do have, because there's a couple of instances of guys, Devin Brown, who's one of the backup quarterbacks at Ohio State, he's in the portal, but he is going to play in the playoff. Preston Stone, who used to be the starter at SMU, also going to play. But I think there's guys who may already know where they're going. So if they have a destination already lined up, I think it makes it easier for them to go, okay, I'll join them later. But also for the schools that do that, you run the risk. If it's a quarterback you really value, it may be a guy you're going to pay $500,000 or more to. You're taking a chance that guy is still going to be there. And what happens if that guy just, doesn't end up going to your school? Then all of a sudden you missed out on other quarterbacks. I mean, it's a weird free agency model, unlike the NFL. Like the NFL isn't doing free agency in the middle of the Super Bowl season, or in the playoffs. So that's why it's weird. It's a tough fit. I get why felt like he was in a no-win situation. And I know from talking to coaches at Penn State, they have a ton of respect for him. I know that some people on the internet felt like he quit on the team. I know that people at Penn State don't feel that way. They have a ton of respect for him.
I was telling Jerry this. I actually think maybe, because obviously Drew Aller announced he was coming back, right? That was a big thing. I was wondering, maybe Drew Aller did that in the beginning of the portal, because him and Bo, I'm sure, really tight, say, hey, I'm coming back to school. This is going to be your opportunity, obviously, to get out of here. Because we all kind of assumed Drew might leave. Obviously, he's not projected to go super high.
But while just on that piece, Matt, this is interesting though. Because Drew must have told him ahead of time, because he didn't announce it for a day or two, and or anything like that. But what happens? We both, you've seen Aller in person. He's big, strong. He's pretty athletic. He's got a good arm. What happens if he goes on a roll and leads them to then all of a sudden he may end up going to the draft?
I know. But also, what happens if something happens and now they're going? I mean, who's their back? I mean, Tyler Warren is going to be their emergency quarterback. I mean, they're going to play a freshman, right?
They have Ethan Brunkemeyer, who is a former Elite 11 player, but he was the 3. How many reps are you getting as the 3?
2,000 kids, right? Give or take. I mean, I always say this too with NIL and like there's a lot of tampering going on. Like you said, a lot of these players know where they're going to go before they even enter the portal because agents are talking and all that. Bruce, what percentage of kids do you think go to the portal and don't have something waiting on the other side? Because I think that's always a huge problem with the portal. Like, look, you look at some of the guys like Miller Moss, waited his turn. It worked. Now he's going to go start at Louisville. Like Mac Jones, like some of these guys just waited it out for their opportunity. How many players don't get that opportunity, but are maybe told something or lied to, or now they find themselves on the street?
Probably 95%.
Which is
I have a
crazy.
story I'm working on now for The Athletic about this very thing and talking to a lot of coaches. And one of the coaches yesterday made the point, this probably works. The portal probably works really well for like the top 200 kids and the top programs. But for all the other ones, it is a big mess and a big pain in the ass. A lot of kids, and they're still college because they're young, I think they're naive. So they think, oh, this school recruited me out of high school.
Right.
I can go back to them. Well, that's probably not the case. And I think for a lot of them, if you've played in college football, even if you played at a lower division, or at a group of 5, at least you have film against college kids. It's the guys like, Malachi Nelson's a name, well, former 5-star kid from Southern California, started out at USC, didn't end up playing there, then bounced to Boise State, didn't win the job there. Now he's bounced again. I think those are tough evaluations for people because it's like, what are you evaluating off high school 7-on-7 film? It's like, yeah, he was once a 5-star, but like those, how those high school evaluations work. And so I think that's why it's really hard to go through this process. And I do think, as you said, Matt, earlier, you have a lot of agents and they're not like the agents you had in the NFL. A lot of them are just like, all it takes to be an agent in the NIL world is like a cell phone and
which is
internet.
crazy.
You don't need to be licensed or anything. So they can tell a kid, hey, I can get you such and such because this school told me they'll give you $100,000. How do they know that's true? And then the kid goes in the portal and then they're probably left, with their fingers crossed.
I mean, I was definitely one of those, because you mentioned earlier, everyone rants about, well, you could fix this, but hearing you lay it out, this is far more nuanced than I even realized when you start even talking about the faux agents of it all. Is this all heading in the direction where does it need a commissioner? I know people have ranted about that because, to me, I could see that solving some things, but then you bring on a whole other world. Like, first of all, who's going to be that person? But
who do you nominate?
Is that the way it's heading? Is it heading in that direction? And who would it be?
Well, I think, Jerry, it's heading in the direction of collective bargaining. And I think this will facilitate it or fast track it because every pro sport here in the United States has some version of that. And so it's agreed upon. I think that takes some of the lawsuit threats out of it.
Right.
If you're going to go with a commissioner, it feels like there's got to be either the head of the Big Ten, Tony Petitti, or the head of the SEC, Greg Sankey, because those are the ones who are really driving everything, and I think, I don't know if Greg Sankey wants to do that job or not. I don't know, but it's somebody in the power structure because you don't have the blessing of the two big power conferences. You have nothing, right? And so I get it. There's been a lot of chatter for that because college sports is rudderless, especially college football, because of that issue.
I named Tim Brando. I think we'd get our boy Timmy B.
I've been asking for a commissioner in college sports for since you were probably in high school at Modern Day.
I know. Bruce, before we let you go, one last thought on just Bill Belichick getting hired by the Tar Heels, North Carolina. Thoughts on that? I've heard actually a lot of positive feedback. Like, I think it's great for college football. I think it's interesting. Obviously, his personality. Any inside story on how that went down, and what's your thought on Bill being in college?
Yeah, from talking to people who are close to him in this process, his son Steve was the defensive coordinator at Washington, so he was there a lot for spring football and for training camp. So he has seen that his system can work in college football on defense, but also that college kids can run it because they were much better. Even though they only had 2 starters back on defense, Washington was actually a lot better on defense this year than they were last year. But he's a brilliant coach. I mean, there's been guys who, whether it's Herm Edwards or, you've seen, Charlie Weiss, you've seen NFL guys come back. They ain't Bill Belichick, though. I mean, Bill Belichick's the greatest football coach in the history of the NFL.
It's so strange still
You
thinking that
know?
he's in college.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but he's, he is the, 6 Super Bowls that he won, and then an additional 2 as an assistant. I mean, great teacher, knows all 3 phases better than everybody, all those things. I think he will have a lot of success early because he's going into the ACC, not the SEC. So we just saw SMU go first time in, not a lot of big recruits. They're in the playoff. Duke with Manny Diaz wins 9 games in his first year. Fran Brown at Syracuse wins 9 games at Syracuse. He'd never even been a coordinator before. So you can go into the ACC and make a difference. I think, though, he will ultimately leave after a couple of years because I think he will just get so sick of dealing with unregulated agents and the chaos that's around college football. He's 72. I don't think he's going to want to deal with the nonsense.
You think he'd go back to the NFL? I don't think he had an opportunity in the NFL. I think that like to your point, his son obviously is in college. College is being ran more like the NFL, and it will eventually get more like that in the next couple of years. I just gotta like the Jordan brand and obviously Bill Belichick and like recruiting and like even I was talking to Cole. I was talking to Cole about this. He's like, Dad, that's pretty cool, man. Like it's Bill Belichick. Like we can he can get us to the NFL. Like that's the way he thought of it already without even really talking about it. So it'll be interesting to see him actually he's actually laughing a lot more though. Maybe he's kind of like changed a little bit of a tune, like understanding
he's got some young people around him now.
Yeah. He's what's that 50 year age difference? Hey, it's all right. Good for him, buddy. Well, Bruce, enjoy the game. Who do you got? You got any upsets this weekend?
The one I think Brady's not going to like it, but does Indiana learn from what happened in Columbus where our buddy Mark Ingram was pulling his hair out because the backs couldn't pick up pressure and they were, Notre Dame's going to try to do a lot of the same stuff. I think Kurt Cignetti's a really good coach. Maybe they've made adjustments. I love that we're going to get snow on the ground and it's going to be cold. I mean, as you've been.
I'll be there. I'm going to be there for that game. I'm going to be there.
Good. I hope you're freezing your butt off.
Well, I think I'm going to be in a suite, so we're going to be good.
Of course you are.
Yeah. Hey, if you're with Brady in South Bend, you're with literally royalty.
Yeah, royalty.
Jerry, walking around with it. Yeah.
We had that game last year, and it was awesome to be with Brady in his element, see people worship him. Like I remember we were walking around the stadium, and Urban was there. And Urban could have been like a homeless man. Nobody paid attention to him. They were like, there's Brady Quinn, and Urban was an assistant at Notre Dame, but it was Brady. I mean, you get that treatment, around here anyway, Matt, but like, it was really, as Brady's friend, it was so cool to see how people revere him around South Bend.
Hey, there's a couple of fast food spots in Southern California. I get that treatment. When I walk in, they're like, hey, we know here comes Turtle from Entourage. Let's go. What's he going to eat? Yeah. I guess that's the closest of being like a Greek god is Brady Quinn at Notre Dame. I feel like
it was last year. So he and I did we walked around, did some content, had fun. And we went into his old dorm, freshman year. We went into the dining hall and South Bend is small, right? And it's just Notre Dame. And he's probably the best quarterback to ever play there. If you really look at it, he is literally, I took Jerry with me to USC last month and, still get some of that around there, but USC is just bigger and it's just different student body. It's just a little different with him at Notre Dame it's pretty freaking funny, dude. You just kind of
you're in good hands this weekend.
You walk. Oh, you're in good hands. Like we broke into the locker room, legitimately broke into the locker room. The poor girl who was sitting at the door was like, "No, the alarm will go off." And Brady's like, I got it. It's okay. If the alarm goes off, don't worry, you'll be fine. You know how Brady talks. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. Sure enough, the cops came. All shit, dude, and Brady. And then they're like, "Oh, Brady Quinn." It was awesome. So, Indiana, I like that one. I'm pulling for the Mustangs.
Oh, I know you're pulling for the Mustangs.
I think Texas is going to handle them, and then I think Ohio State, Tennessee. I think that one's going to be interesting. I do like Ohio State. I think they bounce back, but all right, Bruce.
It's going to be a good weekend. Yeah. Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate you, man.
Okay, safe travels.
All right, now it's time for our Can't Get Enough Sauce moment of the week, brought to you by Wendy's. Perfect timing. I need to take a little drink. All right, Matt, a lot is going on in the world of sports today. Who's your Can't Get Enough Sauce moment of the week?
Yeah, so I'm going with Michael Vick, and Michael Vick just took the head coaching job this week at Norfolk State, which is Norfolk State, which is close to where he lives. He was kind of in talks, I believe, with Sacramento State. I think that's what first kind of broke, and then eventually takes Norfolk State. I've gotten to know Mike a little bit at Fox. Great dude. I'm wondering if this is going to be more of a trend that we see with former players throwing their name in the ring for these spots. You look at kind of Antonio Pierce for the Raiders, right? He got that job. Coach Prime is the biggest one in college football, and we've seen what he's been able to do. Ray Lewis was, I think, threw his name in a job earlier this year. I know Ed Reed has been like that, and now we're seeing Michael Vick. So it's going to be interesting, dude, to see over the next 4 or 5 years, especially when some of these guys actually have success, just maybe not coaching experience, but having success running teams and understanding, obviously, from a player's perspective. So shout out to Mike Vick. Happy for him. Great dude. Love getting to know him over the years at Fox, and I'm rooting for Norfolk State now, man.
Yeah, that's something I always want to ask athletes who are in retirement of if coaching is ever. And we even asked Barkley a little bit because then if you look around the NFL, Dan Campbell, Vrabel's going to go somewhere.
Eddie George
Right.
is having a great job over there, where he's at. So
I love it. I love it. Mine is a theme. I can't get enough sauce. Moment of the week is the whole team and organization of the Milwaukee Bucks. Look, I can't say I really cared about the NBA.
You
Cup.
don't like the Bucks, though.
I don't like the Bucks,
Yeah.
but here's what I like. Number one, the Bucks are now starting to play really good basketball, as we just saw in the NBA Cup. They're getting healthy. I had the feeling Giannis was going to be like the Terminator this year, but the most important thing, they win the NBA Cup, which we still don't quite know what it is. Every baseball player would have popped champagne, celebrated because they won the NBA Cup.
It's
Sorry.
the NBA Cup, bro. It's a midseason tournament.
Well, your Lakers drank champagne and beer last year after they won the NBA Cup. You know what the Bucks did?
Did they?
They did. The Bucks said, "No, we're not going to do that." They didn't. All the champagne they had in the locker room was left in the coolers. No champagne.
Wait, they actually had champagne ready to go?
Yes, there's a picture circulating.
You're our NBA guru. What is the point? I mean, outside of a lot of the guys getting whatever it was, $500,000 or $1 million. Like
yes, which is very cool for guys
1,000%.
12. Yeah,
yeah, but even guys 6, 7, and 8 are still getting millions of dollars
True,
in the NBA.
true.
But pretty cool. Milwaukee Bucks, love them. I'm actually a fan of all those guys.
no champagne. They didn't even. They did it and they went about their business.
What is the NBA Cup?
We're still trying to figure it out.
What the hell are we doing?
We're trying to figure it out still, Matt. That wasn't the sauciest part. The sauciest part was the Bucks did not drink
I know.
the champagne and celebrate, because to me, that's the kiss of death. To me, that's it. What'd your Lakers do? They won the NBA Cup, they drank champagne, and they got bounced out.
By the way,
in
my
4 by the
Dodgers
Nuggets.
drank all the champagne and they whooped on the Yankees.
But that's a
ass,
baseball.
so.
But every team drinks champagne in baseball. There wouldn't be a world. Some team has to win the World Series, and they all do it. Anyway, Doc Rivers even said, we just left it there. We didn't even have any. So shout outs to the Bucks. That is my Wendy's can't get enough sauce moment of the week. Don't know what the NBA Cup is, but I do know passing on champagne for a mid-season whatever win is saucy.
Want perks without a premium? Cash App cards offer you the best of both worlds. Discounts and offers for free, because it's not a perk if you pay for it.
Are you confused about perks in general? Well, we got you covered, because here at Throwbacks, we want to help you get the most out of your Cash App card. Got it?
Let's do it.
Now, discounts at your favorite retail stores.
That's a Cash App card perk all day.
Matt's Heisman Trophy.
Oh, hold up, man. You're not getting that with your Cash App card perk.
All right. Well, pre-sale tickets for concerts to see your favorite artists perform.
There you go. That's for sure a Cash App card perk.
A locker in your favorite team's locker room?
Nah, not a Cash App perk.
Okay. Card customization so you can match your personal style with your Cash App card.
You bet. That's a Cash App card perk.
Okay, last one. Banking with no hidden fees.
That's most definitely a Cash App card perk.
Cash App offers premium rewards without the premium cost. And while it can't solve all your problems, Cash App can make your money go further, all with no hidden fees.
And that's money. That's Cash App. Download Cash App from the App Store or Google Play and start collecting those perks today.
You've had Wendy's nugs dipped in sauce, but have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11.
You can choose between flavors like buffalo, you got honey barbecue, garlic parm, or if you're a real heat seeker, you can try spicy ghost pepper, only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare you.
I'm a heat seeker. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before.
For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Yes, joining us now, my good buddy, Scott Porter. We know each other from fantasy football and acting as well. But just real quick, we did the guilty thing of a great moment that we were not rolling for. You know, you come on, you got a nice Denver Broncos helmet in the background. How did you start again? Refresh us. You talk about your wife and cheerleading, and how does that intersect with Mr. Matt Leinart?
Yeah, no, I said I moved we just got new internet in the house and I had to be in a different space. I'm in my wife's craft room and I had to move some helmets and stuff to, dress up the space. I've got my Nebraska stuff up there. And I just said, I thought about it, but I didn't move the Texas stuff up here because my wife was a cheerleader at the University of Texas and she actually cheered at the Rose Bowl, Texas USC.
Of course she did. Of course she did.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
BY,
great, man.
reaching the ball out, the whole thing.
Matt,
the confetti coming down, the picture that haunts me forever. Yeah, it's awful, but yeah, whatever, man. Hey, it's good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
No, Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
By the way, okay, really quick, because I know you're from Nebraska, right?
Yes.
So Omaha?
Yes, sir.
Or yeah, my dad was born and raised in Omaha.
What part? Yeah, I'm born in Papillion, and then I moved all over the place. But
honestly, no clue what part. He lived there till he was about 8 or 9, then moved to California. But all his cousins still live there. So we just did the College World Series this past year. It's kind of like it was like a bucket list thing. So I took my youngest son, little daddy, like son time for him. He's only 3. But then my brother's nephew, or my brother's son, my nephew's a big time baseball player. He's 10. There's they do that big tournament out there during the College World Series for all the kids, like 1,000 teams. And then we went to see a couple of the games. We took my dad, so it was really cool. But have you been to the World Series?
Oh, I've been to the College World Series plenty of times. I haven't taken my kids yet. And that's like, I tell them there's something about the ding of the Aluminum bat at, the old Rosenblatt Park, which I know is completely updated. In a new stadium now. But yeah, I went many times as a kid, many times.
It was cool. It was cool. Like it was just walking. Honestly, it was the coolest part was being with my dad. My dad's older. So like for him and we were a big baseball family. So for us to look around and that little area, like the hotel we stayed at, you walk around, it's pretty cool. Like it's definitely, I don't think Jerry's going to go, but it's.
I'm more focused on Scott. I want to actually take, because over here in Ohio, it's like right in between Ohio and New York, Williamsport, where they played a Little League World Series. That's where I want to take my kids 5 and 3, because I just hear it's a lot of fun for them, go down the grass slide and all that stuff. So really quick though, all right, so we know Nebraska, but where did the Broncos come with you? I never got the backstory from you of where the love of the Broncos came from.
Okay, here's the deal, man. When you're from Nebraska, you are a free agent. So I walk people through all this stuff because you and I actually share a team in common. We love the Knicks. So let me start. When you're in Nebraska, you're Nebraska born and bred. It's all Cornhuskers all day. You're spoken for college football back in the 80s, right? College basketball was the next sport I started kind of to watch. It was another thing that was on, Saturdays. So college football rolled over into college basketball in the spring. And I would get up, I'd watch Saturday morning cartoons. Then I'd watch whatever came on next. And what came on next was Big East basketball. So I'm 4 or 5 years old. I'm watching the Hoya Destroyer run onto the court. I'm watching Villanova and I'm watching Syracuse. And I became a huge Patrick Ewing fan. So I followed him to the NBA. So I'm a Georgetown and a New York Knicks fan. And then I started watching professional football. And when you live in Nebraska, the games that come on, because back then we didn't have satellite, to all the kids out there, we had 2 games to choose from. That was it, right? And you would get Chiefs games, sometimes Vikings games. Bears games would always be on because there was a network called WGN, and they carried, Bears, they carried the Bulls. That's why so many people were Bulls fans who aren't from Chicago. It's just because they could watch them all the time, right? So I didn't like the Bears. I didn't like the Vikings. but the Broncos were almost always on. And it's proximity. I mean, they're one state over. So I watched John Elway lose 3 Super Bowls and was still just a massive Broncos fan because that man had no quit in him. And one of the livest arms you've ever seen. You know, people who come up now who don't understand just how good John Elway was, I challenge y'all to go watch, you know, some highlight reels and everything. And I know everybody looks good in the highlights, but I mean, he makes some impossible throws. But his heart, his grit, that was a very Midwestern embodiment. We are very proud of that, right? We get up, we go to work, we don't quit, we don't stop. And that's how Elway played. So that's why I'm a Broncos fan.
Listen, I love Elway. Matt does this great thing on TikTok and social where you build your perfect quarterback, and one of them's arm strength. I think I picked Elway for arm strength.
It might have been Elway or Marino. I mean, either way. I mean, Marino had an absolute howlet.
So here's my 30-second Elway story. It's golf related. Down in Cabo, for New Year's Eve, played golf with those guys. By the way, he's a stick, of course, right? He's like a 1 handicap. And then it was me, him, and Drew Bledsoe. And at this bar in Cabo, they have frozen shot glasses. You take a shot and then it's this ice, and then you throw it against this wall. And I'm with Elway and Bledsoe. I'm like, guys, could you just do me a favor? Let's take these shots. I want you two just to rear back and just fire. And these dudes pounded it, fired, and it sounded like gunshots. It was like, psh, psh. I just like, if I threw that hard, I think my shoulder would come out of my socket. So Elway's a legend for a lot of reasons.
He's the best.
I think for me, man, I wished that, because being an actor, like, so I'm a sports fan. And when I get around other actors, like I have so much respect for other actors. Like I met Morgan Freeman once, I met James Earl Jones once, I met Clint Eastwood, like, and I just have so much respect and everything for them. But I don't like freak out. But when I meet like my childhood, like athlete, like icons, like it's different. And so once I got into the business, like the only thing I do being a part of this industry is like call people to see if I can get to sports games. Right. And like, you know, and it works, man. I go see games everywhere. I want to go to every stadium, every sport, everything. And then I play in like these pro-ams, right? Like I'm sure you do the same with golf. Like I did it for flag football for a long time because I played football in high school and into college at the University.
Oh, we're getting to that, Scott. We're getting to that.
I was an invited walk-on at UCF and then quit very quickly because I knew it wasn't. I knew I wasn't going pro. Let's just say that. But at the end of the day, like I started doing these pro-ams, and I got to meet Peyton Manning. I got to catch touchdown passes from Jim Plunkett and from Dan Marino and from Troy Aikman. But I never once got to play with Elway. So that's like the biggest regret. One of the balls I got behind me is actually signed by like everybody in the Madden Bowl. It was like Barry Sanders, John Randall, Jerry Rice, awesome. Tim Brown. It's crazy. I got to play on fields with those guys, and so that's pretty cool. So for me, it's like my dream was always to play with Elway, but never got to catch a pass from the man. But hopefully one day I'll meet him, at least shake his hand.
You know, we met years ago through fantasy football, really, is the thing that brought us together. I think we kind of knew each other a little bit and mutual friends, but you've had and have such a good career. So we're going to go back a little bit because something we talk about a lot on this show is, you know, we connect sports and Hollywood wherever we can. And for me, I'm a little worried that the sports movie, particularly the scripted movie, is going away because it's been so tapped, and now sports documentaries are so good. And the number one thing that will drive me away from any sports movie is bad, not acting, bad sports actors. We talk about it so much on the show. And that's something I loved so much about Friday Night Lights is the football looked great. We know Pete Berg was probably a maniac about that. And what I want to ask you is, when you were up for the role, going after the role, whatever, how much was it acting versus how much were Pete or whoever the show like talking to you about the football of it all?
Yeah, man. No, Pete. So in Hollywood, there's something called cast contingency, right? When a network greenlights a show like NBC greenlit Friday Night Lights, they say, hey, but we want you to really take a hard look at some of our picks, at some of our favorite actors that we think would be great for the show. And Pete Berg came in like, I don't know, like a new head coach into an organization that's basically like, no, fuck that. Like, not doing it. Right? Like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to cast the people that I think are right for the roles, period. I'm not putting any of your stunt casting into the show. But the football never really came into it. He just wanted guys and girls who he thought like really embodied the spirit of the characters, because as great as Friday Night Lights was, and we did have wonderful football. Coach Alan Graff was our stunt coordinator. He's been around. He's almost any big football movie you've ever seen, that's him. But he's also done stunts, for other shows like Deadwood. This guy is very accomplished. And so that's why our football looked really good. And we had former D1 players who were the stunt doubles. So Aldous Hodge, who played Voodoo Tatum, James Brown from the University of Texas was his stunt double, who led Texas to a Big 12 championship. Eric Smart, who started at free safety for Texas Tech, was Tim Riggins' main stunt double. And there's another guy that we called Wichita, who was literally playing, semi-pro football at the time. That was like his other stunt double, because Riggins needed 2 stunt doubles, of course. But throughout the
fullback position is gone now. But Riggins was the last great fullback.
He was the last great fullback. But the thing with the casting was, he took chances on people who wanted to leave their mark on the character. He didn't care as much about the athletics with the actors. So when I went into audition for it, I ripped a different scene out of the script and went into the casting director, Stephen O'Neill, and said, "Hey, I think you have the wrong scene for Jason Street." And he said, "What do you mean?" And I said, "You don't have the locker room where he says, 'I think everybody loves football.'" The question, there's a line from the show, "Do you think God loves football?" And he says, "I think everybody loves football." That line wasn't in the audition scene. Instead, they had a kissy scene with Minka Kelly's character, Lila Garrity. And I was like, I think this is, so he goes, "All right, let's put it on tape." And I think that's the real reason I even got to test for the show, is because Pete was watching reel after reel and going, same thing. Everybody's doing the same thing. He's like, "Wait, this kid's doing a different scene. What the hell is this?" And they looked at the notes and said, "He thought you had the wrong scene for Jason Street." He's like, "Fly him out." So that's how I booked it. Months later, 2 weeks before we start shooting, I get a phone call from Casey Hodenfeld. This guy is he's been Michael Mann's first AD. I mean, this guy has done a lot of work in the industry. He calls me panicked. "Scott, I can't believe we've never asked you this, but holy please tell me you can throw a football."
Wow. I'm shocked that it took them that long to ask you that.
And then it was cool because what we did before our actual pilot, and I'm glad they did it before the pilot and not the series, was they actually had a football camp with us. They brought us all down a couple of weeks early ahead of some of the other actors. So me, Gaius Charles, Zach Gilford, Taylor Kitsch, we all came down early. They had the quarterbacks coach from Compton College to help teach myself and Zach, how to throw. We went through quarterback drills, all this stuff. But it was the coach from Compton College that led us through some of that stuff.
That's awesome.
And I'll never forget when he walked us into the locker room. I was doing an off-Broadway show at the time about a struggling Christian boy band. And I had blonde hair down across my forehead, looked like Justin Bieber. And he'd walk us all into the locker room to introduce us to the stunt players who have been working with Graff for a long time. And like I said, they were former D1 athletes, a lot of these guys. We walk in, these guys are huge. They're sweating and, they're doing 2-a-days learning all the stunt choreography. He walks us in and I got an American Eagle shirt on with this super hair. And Coach Graff, he looks like Andy Reid. He's got the big walrus mustache and he's like, "These are the actors." And he looks at me especially and he goes, "We're going to try and make them look like football players." But we went out, we did the thing, man, we did it. One of my throws is actually on camera. The rest of it, my stunt double, big shout out to Kevin Reed. He backed up Dante Culpepper at University of Central Florida. He was the guy that was my stunt guy. He is incredible. These guys are magicians with the ball. I know, he could do all types of tricks, everything you ever needed a guy to do, and he was so money. So he was my stunt double and then played a lot of the opposing quarterbacks throughout the series. But one of my throws did make it on the tape. So I was proud of what I did.
What'd you play in high school? And you see, what'd you play?
I was a wide receiver.
Wide out?
Yeah. Went to Lake Howell High School in Winter Park, Florida. My, grandfather retired from the Air Force. That's the whole reason I'm from Nebraska. And he moved to Florida, said, "I don't want to spend another winter in snow," which I know you're dealing with that now, Jerry. But
it's the worst. It's the worst ever.
But everybody followed him down there. So I went to high school and college in Florida and played football down there. So outside of Texas, I'd say Friday Night Lights in Florida shine, second brightest, if not even brighter sometimes. So it was a cool environment. And then, I was invited to walk on at the University of Central Florida in 1998. So,
all right, now it's time for Defining Moments, brought to you by Nitza. And for today's edition, we want to know a little more about Scott Porter's defining moment.
As a football player, you probably were you aware of when you get this show, because this show it's like Jerry, like Entourage. It's like just an iconic show and you guys had an iconic run. Were you aware of how big Texas football was? And then also when you got the job, you're like, and I know you're younger, but like this could be something huge. Like, were you aware of that when you got that?
Yeah, 100%. My mom is from Amarillo, Texas. My grandma, her whole side of the family, they're all from Texas. You know, she got 3 brothers named William, which no one ever called them William. It's Billy Bob, Dub, and Buster. And
there you go.
You know, it is it is in my blood a little bit, especially on my mom's side of the family, all the way down. So I really understood. And being from Nebraska, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like the people don't understand that Lincoln Memorial Stadium on Saturdays is the 3rd most populous area in the state of Nebraska, outside of the cities of Lincoln and Omaha. There is no city in Nebraska, or town, I should say, in Nebraska that has a larger population than what Lincoln Memorial can hold. And it's full every week. So,
and whether they're winning or losing, they're always,
Since 1962, every sellout, right? We're like 490 or almost 500 sellouts, you know. But it's you bleed Husker Red. So I understood the concept of that. What I wasn't completely aware of is just how these towns recycle this feeling, right? Because I was still young when I jumped into this show, but I had a feeling like this was going to be a different thing. But how, you know, people who never got out of the town reinvest themselves into these student athletes because they want to vicariously live out their dream.
Right.
And that's what Pete did such a good job of showing. And I think that's why people love the show so much, is because it's not just about the sport. It's just not about the Friday nights. It is about Monday through, you know, Thursday. It's about, you know, Saturday through Thursday. It's about all the other days when people are trying to live their life in this town that, you know, they wish they could get out of. Right. And that's kind of what I wasn't completely up on, but Pete did such a good job, and Jason Kadams and everybody else did such a good job of delivering. But yeah, man, for me, I was doing off-Broadway at the time. I auditioned for a big musical with Disney Theatricals. Came down to me and one other guy to do Tarzan on Broadway. But it was my first year in New York. It was my first year with an agent, and I'd never auditioned for television pilots, really. And we asked if we could get in the contract an out to go do television if I booked a job. And I ended up not getting Tarzan, but getting offered the lead understudy role. I was, you know, going to be in the ensemble. I'd be on the album. It was a pretty cool thing for, you know, for a kid from Nebraska to be, oh my God, I'm going to be on a Broadway stage and I will eventually play Tarzan. That would be pretty cool.
That's sick.
And the guy that sat me down from Disney Theatricals looked at me and said, why do you want to go do television in the first place? You're just going to be 4th handsome guy from the left on some WB show and have a, you know, that's going to be your career. We can teach you how to own a stage. And I was like, okay. So obviously doesn't understand. I got an athlete's mentality. I'm like, you telling me I'm just going to be like a 4th-stringer the rest of my life? That ain't going to work.
Hell
bro.
Yeah.
So I went into pilot season. I started passing on scripts. I was like, nope, I don't think this is the one. My agent calls me. She's like, what the fuck are you doing?
What are you doing?
You don't pass
Is this
on
before
anything.
this is before you ever even had a job, a role?
Before I ever had a job.
Okay.
But I thought this was, you know, I don't know, you get a chip on your shoulder. So I was like, nope. She's like, you don't pass on anything. 7th script I ever got was Friday Night Lights. And the thing is I played with 4 future NFL players on my high school football team. I went and saw Friday Night Lights with 2 of them in the movie theater, the movie. I knew this was a special project. And that's why I ripped scenes out. That's why I, you know, went and I ended up booking it. And it was like, kind of like a big middle finger to the Disney Theatricals big guys. I was like, I'm not going to be 4th guy from the left. I'm going to have a career, like, you know, in spite of you guys. So I always say thank you.
Could you imagine if you would have just stuck with Tarzan and never would have done Friday Night Lights?
Man, this
That's
life
wild.
is crazy. I'm sure for
Isn't
you,
it? Yeah.
Jerry, like being in this industry, and I'm sure for you too, Matt, like, you know, athletics is just as much about opportunity as anything too. Like, I know there are so many people out there infinitely more talented than I am that just didn't have the opportunity. That's why I look at it like, okay, I got the opportunity. I'm going to give it everything I got because I don't want to disrespect them, right? Like, I don't want to take this opportunity and not give it 100%. I don't want to take this opportunity and not put everything I have into it because I have friends back in Orlando that I performed with the theme parks that are they're more talented than me, but never had like the shot. And so, in a weird way, you do it for them too, so that's my story, how I got into the show and everything. That's how I approach work in this industry.
Well, I think, and I'm with you, by the way. I think I only even attempt to maintain an acting career to keep my Knicks tickets. I think that's my only real interest. I'm kind of old.
Oh, it's the greatest flex. You have the greatest flex. You have courtside Knicks tickets whenever you want.
It's just like, I really don't think I have any, not that, I mean, I'm sure I have interest, right project, right? But like, I continually just always have some kind of meat on the grill. So then when I make that call, like, hey, it's, Knicks Warriors, you got room? They're like, yeah, come on out. But what I love what you said, we always try to find like the intersection of, because I had this talk once with Justin Tuck at a Knicks game, right? And he's asking me all these acting questions. I'm asking him all these NFL and football questions. And I think I finally found the relationship between athletes and actors. I think what we have in common, nothing really physical, maybe you, Scott, because you played high school football, it's understanding the moment. An actor's job is really to understand the moment and what you're trying to convey. And I think you could say the same thing about football. Matt, you played the position on the highest level. How many times are you in a situation where it's understanding the moment? Like, hey, we got to get this yard and a half or else it's not a first. Like, you got to or even end of game. Like, this is the play right now. It's understanding the moment. And I think you, Scott, sounds like you understood the challenge. Like, it's almost like, when you hear the stories about football players remembering everyone who passed on them in the draft, that's what the music department at Disney did for you. Essentially, they were giving you that motivation. So, what a defining moment. Good for you. That's incredible. I love that.
It's a blast to be able to look back but I do remember like days on set. Like, I remember a sequence of plays when I was playing. Like, there are certain sequences of things that you'll never forget. But a lot of stuff we just flush, right? I think that's a similarity too. Like, I think
Matt's gonna quiz you.
Oh man,
he did. No,
that's my
segue.
But go ahead. Keep going. You're talking about plays,
going.
Yeah, man. No, but it's just that it's that same kind of thing. Like, there are some games you just throw away, right? You gotta have a short memory. There's sometimes I'm out there, I do something poor, and I'm just like, oh man, I just gotta forget that. You can't.
That's me every day,
right? Exactly. We're neurotic. Actors can be neurotic, but you got to have a short memory, right? And that's what they always talk about in athletics. You just got to have a short memory. But then there's those special ones where you remember every single moment. Everything slows down. You remember everything. And when it really hits, it hits, right? Like, it's just cool. That's something I've always thought about.
So a couple weeks ago, and this hasn't aired yet, but Jerry made me audition. Okay. So I've auditioned. Yeah, he made me audition.
Me, Connolly, and Dylan made him in front of his guys for draft day. I
auditioned for draft day, actually.
In real life.
I really did. That was actually pretty cool. Clearly I wasn't good enough. I didn't seize the moment. But so you're talking about plays. So did you have to recite plays when you were doing Friday Night Lights? Did you have real plays or like whatever, like a huddle, right? You did?
Yeah,
and you obviously have a football background. So I pulled, this is crazy. So I pulled an old call sheet from Gary. Yeah, it's hard to see with the light. Okay, so this is an old call sheet.
Okay.
This is from the Houston Texans versus Baltimore Ravens divisional playoff, January 15th, 2012. So this is the run.
Is that Schaub?
Okay.
Is that Schaub?
That's Matt Schaub. So we lost this game. We're at Baltimore. This is like 2012. So this is like Ed Reed.
You still have the one from 2012? Like, that was in your
Well, okay. So what I wanted to do. Well, no, this was like under the bed somewhere. My wife is like, why do you still have that? Throw it out. I have it for moments like this. Okay. So I'm going to read a play. And this is what they do to us in the it's very similar to audition. So like when we go to the combine and there's a team that really wants you. And Sean Payton did this with me with New Orleans. I think I met with maybe the New York Jets. I met with the New York Jets for hours when they came out and did actually like a private workout where they sit you in like a room and they just grill you on whatever. And then they send you the whole, the story, they send you the whole playbook before, read it, and then they're going to quiz it to you like a month later, right? Some people do, some people don't.
It's terrifying.
So this is a call sheet. So I'm gonna say a play here. This is out of base. This is a really easy one, dude. This is like acting 101, football 101. Okay.
Right.
So I'm gonna say the play. I want you guys to give it. I'm gonna say the play, the read, and I want you guys to recite it back to me. I want Scott to go first. Okay. Okay. Hug near right slot, 2-jet X curl halfback burst. Hug, near right slot, 2-jet, X curl, halfback burst. Halfback burst. Your read is a curl, flat defender. The curl's 1, the flat's the 2. Your Z is on a skinny post, single high man. Your halfback burst is your 3rd. Your 2-jet, which means your fullback in this formation has the will linebacker, or no, has the Sam to the Mike. Your offensive line has the 4 down sliding to the will. You're hot off the Sam Mike. That's hug near right slot, 2-jet, X
What's the
curl,
question?
halfback burst. I want you to recite that and give me the read. Yeah.
So if I'm right, you're initially looking weak side. Your hot read's going to be right if your weak side linebacker is jumping the route, right? You said the Sam is your hot.
So hug near right slot.
Hug near right slot, X curl.
Halfback burst.
Halfback burst. Yeah. Okay. Hug near right, 2, X curl, fullback jet.
2-jet.
2-jet. All right.
I am one of those who think that it's all too complicated, but I never played.
It's way too complicated.
Football, so that sounds obnoxious to me.
So my question is though, like once you're in Kubiak's system, do you start to? I mean, once you're in the system, right?
Yep.
Like once you've been in the system,
I think
start
it's
to understand the terminology a little bit, but they give it to you cold, like. And they just expect you to understand their terminology because what might be scissors for someone is obviously a different term for someone else.
That's what we always talk about, and you would know this, Scott, from a football. Like when quarterbacks go to all these different, have all these different coordinators, you're essentially, for the most part, learning a new system, a new terminology every single year, which is hard, man. It's like it's like getting a movie script a day before, and you're like all of a sudden, hey, you need to know this in the next 2 weeks. It's like. And you don't get do-overs, like you don't get retakes, like you get one shot, you know what I mean? Like you have to learn. So actually, funny story, when I went to Houston, it was with Schaub and Dan Orlovsky was there, and I got cut from Arizona. I went to Houston like 2 days later, literally 2 days later, and I'm, whatever. I'm meeting with my quarterback coach in the morning, learning this. This is Kyle Shanahan's now system, the same a lot with these LaFleur, McVay. It's like this whole branch, right? This coaching branch. And the first game, I'm sitting there, and I didn't even dress up this game. I'm sitting there, and they told me, like, Kubiak quizzes the quarterbacks the night before the game on, like, the whole thing, the starter, like, literally 150
That's
plays.
insanity.
But to your point, when you learn it once, it's like it becomes, like, I could recite that play 100 times in my head and know exactly where I'm going with the ball once you're in it, like, once you're practicing it. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm nervous, and I'm not even getting called on. And Kubiak actually called on me the first. He's like, Leinart, let's see. He was the best. He's like, let's see how fucking smart you are. I heard you're a pretty smart guy. And I'm like, Coach, so he gave me like, what are the new 4 new screenplays in this week? And I'm like, and he was fucking with me. I was like, Coach, I got no fucking idea. But it was like, I could imagine it was like being in like your first audition where you're like probably nervous. You don't want to fuck it up. You're like, don't call on me, whatever. But yeah, it was, but to your point, Scott, it was like, it's basically you learn a new language and then all of a sudden it's just becomes second nature. But when you go to a different one, you have to start all over again and all over again. And that's a challenging part.
Hug near right.
You still think
X curl. Wait, hug near right slot, X curl, 2-jet. What did I miss? There's something in
2-jet,
there.
X curl.
X curl. 2-jet, X
halfback burst.
Halfback burst.
What's the halfback burst?
Hug near right slot, 2-jet, X curl, slot. What?
Hug near right slot. So you always do the formation first.
Yes.
Hug slot basically tells the X and the Z they're hugging in the slot. So they're 100%, close.
Yeah.
Near right is fullback. That's Riggins right to the tight end. Hug near right slot. 2-jet is the protection. And then you give the play concept, X curl. X curl essentially tells the Z he's got a skinny post. Right. The Y's probably in that formation. He's probably got some type of crossover to the curl.
He made me draw this. He made me try to draw it up on a board.
I'd be better at drawing it up because I have an understanding of concepts. But Matt, you're talking about this would happen like the night before you find a new team or whatever. But when you're doing television, especially network television, we are 100% getting scenes the night before that we've never seen before. They're coming out. You wake up and you go to bed having learned a scene. You wake up, you say you go to bed at 10:30, 11:45 p.m. while you're sleeping, new scene comes out, new pages. And one time I was doing a show called Scorpion for CBS and they move very fast. And it's a it was a procedural in a way. It was, it was national security geniuses who all were working together to save the world, basically. And I was playing a former Navy SEAL with a medical background who took shrapnel in his back and couldn't be a SEAL anymore. So he joins this team of geniuses. And we're doing a episode set in Vietnam. And they didn't realize they needed somebody to be able to translate to Vietnamese. I get a phone call at 4:45 p.m. the day before we shoot the scene. Hey, Scott, we've got 2.5 pages of Vietnamese we need you to learn tonight to do on camera tomorrow. So
Vietnamese, easy language.
I got the first scene was about 3/4 of a page, right? Which is like maybe 4 lines. I got that one memorized. They sent me the script and then they sent me somebody who, was fluent in Vietnamese on a recording that I was just trying to listen to and just learn the audio cue. But for the second scene, I was like, screw this. I wrote it out phonetically and taped it to the dude's chest that I was working against. And
you went Brando.
I went Brando.
Yes.
I went Brando.
People do that?
Yeah.
What a party trick. I've never heard that.
Well, I'm sure though, but I'm sure there are tricks in the huddle. Like if you get put into service and you're not fully up on something, like if you're just joining a team or whatever, right? You kind of go rogue and be like, hey, we're doing this.
Dude, no, who goes rogue are the receivers. They're like, Matt, what I got on that? Matt, just throw it up deep. I'm going to go get it.
Throw it up.
Larry Fitzgerald used to do that, who I consider one of the best of all time. He'd be like, sometimes like, hey, what do I got backside on that? Man, you got to come back. Hey, Matt, just throw it up here. Let's go get this. Like, sometimes it's backyard football, man. I'm like, bro, okay.
That's it, man. We all got to go.
I love it, man. Yeah, hell yeah. That's wild. I didn't know you guys read that off that.
I mean, you asked me to learn another language in less than 10 hours. So I'm going to have to do something.
You know what else I love, Scott? We had, every time we get our guest on, like Matt's wife asks, like, who's coming on this week? My wife, my sister-in-law, you for sure, so far to date of our 15 episodes, have gotten the most reaction because Matt's wife wanted to jump on because she loved Friday Night
she's
Lights.
a diehard.
My wife and sister-in-law are trying to get Ginny and Georgia information from me, which I'm like, I'm not going to ask him. Number one, the show comes out this year. Did they announce the month? Is it March, April, or just sometime 2025 for Ginny and Georgia?
I mean,
we don't know yet.
I keep hearing the words late spring, early summer. That's
but it's already picked up for season 4, right?
Yes, we got picked up after season 2. It took them
amazing.
Man, working for
what
Netflix.
A vote of confidence.
Yeah, I mean, working for Netflix is crazy though because everything is algorithm based and they have their whole schedule. So usually a show comes out, they look at 28 days of data and decide if you're worth it. Right? It is just it's that quick, and that's another thing that's like. With sports now, like the analytics, like it is the same in the film industry now. It's not feel anymore. It's not like, oh, this dude's making art. We love this. Let's support this. Or this guy, we know he's a player. He can do this. No, it's analytics are driving everything. So they look at their analytics,
crazy,
right? Yeah. For 4 weeks, that's it. And then they're like, this show's going to be worth it or not. And then they either cancel you or they continue. But after the second season of Ginny and Georgia, we knew something was up because we didn't get a call 4 weeks later. They waited 5 months before they gave us a call.
That's like old school HBO. That's what HBO used to do back in the day.
Right. Because, but they took care with all their shows. So we feel very fortunate. It felt like Netflix actually put some thought and some care into us. And then that May, they announced that not only were we coming back for season 3, we're also going to be coming back for a season 4. So it was cool to get the back-to-back pickup, which is a very rare thing these days. So super honored.
Yeah.
We shot season 3 this past summer into September. So we're wrapped. They're doing post right now and editing and getting everything together. And our creator, Sarah Lampert, is just super hands-on with all that stuff. So she's taking her time, making sure that it's right for all the fans out there. And then, we'll go back next year to film season 4. So super excited about it.
It's the closest thing that actors get to like guaranteed contracts because we get these 5 or 7 year deals, but it's still every year is a contract year. So to get like, hey, your season 3 hasn't even dropped, but you're already greenlit for season 4. That to me is the biggest vote of confidence. And I've never had that in my career. I've always sweated out every single pickup.
We got throwbacks now, baby. We got throwbacks.
Yes, we got throwbacks.
So going back to my wife really quick. So yesterday, I'm like, hey, babe, we got what's your favorite show of all time? No joke. She goes, Friday Night Lights. I go, well, we have Scott coming on from it. And she goes, who? I go, Jason Street. And she goes, shut the f- up. And she literally, I swear to God, she literally stormed in the room. She goes, shut the f- up. Because she also loves, like, Kyle Chandler is like one of her favorite people.
She was in our production meeting yesterday.
So she came in. I'm missing a doctor. We're like 8 months pregnant. So I was missing a doctor's appointment. And I wanted her to come in. I wanted to embarrass the hell out of her, but she's not here. But she wanted me to tell you hello, and she's a big fan. I'm sitting here thinking, because I was talking to Jerry. I'm like, okay, Friday Night Lights. Obviously, Ginny and Georgia has been a hit, and congrats on getting picked up. And then you do a ton of voiceover work.
Oh, that's
right?
my favorite part of his career.
It's then it's like the Madden Colt Cruise, right? Remember, like you're building up like. And then Tarzan off Broadway, but almost Tarzan. You did the Masked Singer. Like, dude, like you're like, it's unbelievable. All like the versatility and everything that you've done. If you like, I know obviously you love acting, but if you like, there's so many different pots. It's like you have so many different talents. Like, is there something that you love to do them like voiceover? Like my wife did voiceover work. She was an actress. Like she loves that. Like,
Let me point out, Scott is in the game of the Marvel Rivals. It's the game right now. I cannot wait to play it. It's the most. It's the game, everybody. The game out right now.
You have like an incredible resume, dude. It is incredible.
Oh, thanks, man. No, here's my thing is, I think I spoke to it earlier a little bit, like the way I approach the business. I'm not sure how everybody does, but I didn't go to school for any of this, right? Like I didn't really go to college. Like I was, I went to University of Central Florida for about a year and a half, and then I left and just started performing. And I was on stages. So I learned, on stage traveling. I lived in Tokyo for a year, Mexico City for a year, I opened up for Carrot Top for 6 months, in Vegas, beatboxing. Like I learned very early, like as versatile as you can be, like you're always going to have a place somewhere in the industry. And, not having any classical training means I wasn't coached up on how to approach everything like a professional, quote unquote. So I was always just, hustling. And I keep that hustle with me still to this day. So when other opportunities come up, I go. And the interesting thing is when I started in this business about 20 years ago, people told you had to pick a lane.
Yeah.
You have to be a television actor, or you have to try and be a film actor, because filmmakers don't like television actors. They don't think you're going to be great for their you had to pick a lane. Now we got Meryl Streep on a half hour on Hulu. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy now. So multi-hyphenate is now the new thing. I mean, we're doing a podcast right now. Like this is awesome. Like to see Jerry and Light, see him with you, Matt. Like, so I just have tried to stay as fluid and as open as possible, and haven't been afraid to say yes for a long time. So I've ended up doing a lot of different things, and that's the really cool thing about the industry now is it accepts that. It used to not accept that, but now it does. So, but what's your wife's name, Matt? I was just going to give her a shout out. I know she couldn't be here.
Oh, give her a shout out. Please give her a shout out. Yes.
Josie forever, Texas forever. Congrats on the new little one. Clear Eyesful Hearts can't lose 100%. Just want to give her a shout out, man. That's so cool.
Can you end this with beatboxing, please? Can we get a beatbox?
Or are you?
Everybody always asks for the beatbox. Yeah.
Oh, they do?
So I used to be in an acapella group. They're called Voice Play. You can find them online.
Hell yeah.
I'm a big gamer. So the last thing I did with them was the Halo theme song. We did it all, but just voices. So if anybody out there wants
By the way,
to
top 3 game of all time. It's my top 3 game of all time.
I almost wore my Master Chief Ugly Christmas sweater today because I was like, 'tis the season. But because you're in Cleveland, I told you I know that town. I love that town. I got the Great Lakes.
Great Lakes, baby.
Great Lakes Christmas sale. One of the greatest beers on earth, man. They release it in a limited quantity, and like people bum rush places trying to get the Christmas sale. You got it. Right. If you don't get it by the beginning of November, you're too late. Like you'll never get any. So my cousin always picks them up because he lives in Cleveland now. So he always picks them up.
I got to meet up with him and drink some.
Yeah, man. But if anybody wants to check out some beatboxing acapella stuff that I've been in, you go to YouTube, check out Voice Play. They are incredible. But yeah, man, I came up beatboxing on street corners. And
great.
Everybody say throw, 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 throw.
Damn, Porter.
There we go.
Dude, are you kidding me?
That's the greatest walk-off ever.
You just started talking. You're like, boop.
Yeah, man, I could do like electric guitar with my voice. That's how I got my start in the industry.
Maybe you
opened
can
for Michael Winslow for a little while from Police Academy. Big shout out to him. So, it was a cool thing.
Maybe we'll change our theme song to that. That was sick.
All right, true last thing. You're the voice of Star-Lord in Marvel Rivals, the game I'm gonna binge like crazy. But do you main Star-Lord? Do you actually play with your own character who you voice?
I do. It was the first character I picked up. I've been a gamer for a very, very long time. The whole reason I'm a voiceover actor is because I would go to E3 and just get hands-on with people's games, and then I would just say the words, "Hey, I'm a fan of what you do." And then one time, one of the guys that was working was like, "I'm a fan of what you do, Friday Night Lights." He's like, "Let's work together." And that's how I got my start in the industry. And I've just, I audition for stuff like Heimdall, God of War. That was an audition. Like, I audition for games like I audition for film and TV stuff. But yeah, when Rivals dropped, I was 100% in on Star-Lord first. Now I've got, because the way the game is built, you have to have multiple classes that you can play as so that you have a good team comp. So Star-Lord, Adam Warlock, and Magneto, those are the three that I kind of focused on. So those are the three I play with right now. And I'll branch out and learn some other ones. But yeah, you'll catch me with some MVPs every now and then. Just had a big one last night, man. Just had a big one last night. So.
I cannot wait to play it.
You're the man, dude. This is
Scott,
awesome.
thank you. You got to come back because there's about we need another hour at least. But enjoy the holidays, man.
Yo, I would love to come back, y'all.
We would love seriously.
About.
We haven't even scratched the surface. So I'll be in touch. Enjoy. But thank you, man. That was awesome.
Thanks, Scott.
Congrats on everything.
Take it easy.
Drinking and driving is a decision that will change your whole world. Things will never be the same once you get a DUI because legal fees and time in court are just the beginning. Getting into a crash is another way your world could be irreversibly changed after drinking and driving. Your vehicle may not be the only thing that gets damaged in a crash. You could face life-altering injury or even death. But you're not the only one who could face those consequences. Your decisions to drink and drive could permanently change someone else's world, whether you injure them or leave their loved ones grieving. The next time you're out drinking, call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or a designated sober driver. The only decision that will change your world for the better is the decision to call for a sober ride. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA. All right, it's time for Money Moments presented by our good friends over at Cash App. Spending, saving, sending, splitting, tipping, donating, gifting, or just typing numbers, all with the #1 finance app in the App Store. That's Money. That's Cash App. Matt, who do you have this week for your money moment?
Well, it's only fitting to acknowledge our newest Heisman Trophy winner in Travis Hunter, right? Last weekend, last weekend was the Heisman ceremony. It was him and Ashton Genty and Dylan Gabriel, Cam Ward. And by no surprise, Travis Hunter took home the award, much deserving. Ashton Genty, much deserving. Great. I think the closest total since 2009. It was like a couple hundred votes, which was crazy. So a pretty great race there. But one just moment of him winning and him talking to his dad in the speech. And I remember giving my like it's just a moment there where you just have a chance to like reflect on how you got there, right? And everybody has a different upbringing and been through different stuff in their life. And like I just remember for me, it was like my family. And for Travis to watch it, and I got teary-eyed thinking like his dad wasn't there, but then you saw the videos come out this week, like his dad watching them. It's just really a powerful moment. And then on top of that, to make matters even better and to just say like, if you didn't already like Travis Hunter, he comes out, I think Deion Sanders Jr. was on a podcast this week, and he was talking about Travis Hunter and the fact that he takes no money from Colorado's NIL collective. I'm sure he has some deals, and I know he has a couple deals in there. He pays for NI deals for about 10 to 15 of his teammates. Basically just takes care of his teammates. And it was also reported that he flew 50 plus staff and teammates to the Heisman ceremony last weekend in New York. it's just like, it's like he just gets it, man. Like he's not only one of the most talented athletes we've seen, because I know you've seen him play basketball, but like he's just an incredible athlete. He's obviously a great human being. So shout out. That's my money moment. He's an incredible human, incredible player. I cannot wait to watch him at the next level.
Yeah, that story really stuck out to me too. And I agree. That is definitely the cash out money moment of the week. I also want to point out how much, if you're an NFL team, of course, it all comes down to the physical ability. But when you look at something like that, what he's doing with his NIL money, that's gotta make you feel good about who you're drafting as the person.
A high character guy, right? Like a lot of, you hear all the stories like draft process, you really vet players because you're going to invest millions of dollars, quarterback, any position, history, background, family, how they were brought up, how many friends they have. We've joked about Draft Day, the movie, a couple times, but remember Draft Day, they really it was all about well, how come none of his teammates went to his 21st birthday party? Like that was
the whole plot of the movie.
That was the whole plot. But there is truth to that. People really want to know what type of person you are. And Travis Hunter is as good as it gets. And whether he plays both sides, he even came out this week and said, I plan on playing both sides. I'm not going to be shocked, dude, if the guy tries. Like, why not? Give him an opportunity. But he's a hell of a player. He's an even better young man. And wherever he goes in the top 5, that team is getting just a stand-up dude and a great
wouldn't that be crazy,
player.
though, if it went Shedeur 1, Travis 2?
It's possible.
Like, how many times does that happen in the draft? How many times have we seen first and second picks from the same team?
I don't know. I'm sure there might be.
Might have to. I don't know if anyone.
I was actually going to say, how about sidebar? Maybe your money moment could have been Shedeur Sanders throwing to Malik Neighbors. You saw that in the streets of New York. I don't know. Are we manifesting it?
I'm not making that my money moment because I don't. For me, manifesting it is. Don't say it out loud. I have too much reverse jinx in me to manifest.
No, I'm the same way.
It was a good sign, but
he's going number 1. He's going number 1. So whether that's New York or whether someone trades up or where he refuses to go.
I can tell you one thing: the Giants aren't winning the game the rest of the year. So if the Raiders want it, the Raiders are going to have to lose out.
I'm pretty sure we're going to see him in the silver and black,
which would be cool. But I don't know, Andrew. I don't know if you could see it. Have 2 teammates ever gone 1 and 2? In the NFL draft, and if I'm just blanking, might be fun. So we'll get that for you hopefully before the end of the show. But now it is time.
Alabama, maybe, I don't know.
Right.
All right.
Now it is time for our Throwback 3, which is basically motivated by having Scott Porter on the show today. So Matt, we're gonna go Throwback 3 fictional quarterbacks. Not as many as you might think. There is a good list. So I'm curious to hear some of yours, and my criteria might be a little different than yours.
I was looking this up and I'm like, there's some great ones. There's not a lot of depth to this. Unless you go real deep and you're like, for me, it didn't mean anything on some of these guys. This was actually a real person, so fictional or not, but whatever. I am going Ronnie Sunshine Bass. I'm not thrilled with this one. This one was tough because I had Willie Beeman and Jamie Foxx from Any Given Sunday, who was great. Great movie. Remember the Titans, one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite sports movies of all time. I think it's iconic. Obviously, we were talking about the cast. You got Denzel as Herman Boone. You got a young Ryan Gosling getting torched outside and getting benched. But Ronnie Bass comes in from California. He has the kind of the kissing scene in the locker room where he's trying to there's a lot of racial tension back then in that era, and that was the real story behind all that. And he's like this white kid with long blonde hair comes in and kind of relieves some of that tension by doing that stuff. So pretty incredible history, Ronnie Bass, for that team. But he was also a great character in the show, man, in the movie. So I'm going with Ronnie Bass.
My favorite tweet ever is written about that movie. I wish I knew who tweeted this because they deserve all the credit. But I think right after Ryan Gosling officially blew up to giant movie star status, someone tweeted, "Look, very happy for Ryan Gosling. He's awesome. But let's not forget for 1 second that he was an absolute liability."
It's a great quote.
And Remember the Titans. It's one of my favorite tweets of all time. I stumble upon it from time to time and I laugh my ass off. That's a great one. My criteria, Matt, is a little different. Okay. I went for acting and also just who looks like a quarterback. You're going to hate this because we actually don't really see much of his physical. The physical I saw looked good. I'm going Varsity Blues. I'm not going Johnny Moxon. I'm going Lance Harbor. Paul Walker as Lance Harbor in Varsity Blues. Talk like when he comes out of the house, and I guess in Texas they really do put your billboard and your picture outside your home with those blue eyes and that blonde hair. That dude to me looked like what you should make a movie quarterback look like. And I thought a really great performance. And I think Varsity Blues is a sneaky good football movie. So that's my number 3, Lance Harbor.
So that's perfect because that segues me into number 2 with Johnny Moxon.
Johnny Mox. Okay, make the case.
And listen, life is all about opportunity. And Lance Harbor goes down in this show, and Johnny Mox, the backup quarterback, who's kind of a nerd, all he does is read books on the sideline. He gets an opportunity. And by the way, we wouldn't have got the whipped cream bikini scene if it weren't for Lance Harbor going down.
Great case.
Okay. One of the best iconic scenes in that era of movies when I was a young buck. Okay. We love that scene. Also, this is just off the field. Also, we're in the classroom. And some of the greatest one-liners when he's talking to his teacher, when they're talking about sex ed. By the way, his teacher's a stripper in that town, and he talks about
she was kind of hot in the movie.
She was kind of hot. They're talking about getting an erection. You remember that? And he starts throwing all the names: the purple-headed yogurt slinger, pinching a tent, sporting a wood, and then he goes, "Oh, my all-time personal favorite, Pedro."
I think you made such a compelling case right there. That should have been your number 1. What a great whipped cream bikini! You just killed it. You killed it.
Well, I was gonna say the whipped cream bikini doesn't happen without Johnny Moxon. But then on the field, by the way, also save Billy Bob's life, save Wendell's life from getting the shot at the end when the old coach was trying to shoot up everybody, and then goes on and wins too. The hook and ladder when he does like the famous hook and ladder to Billy Bob. Tweeter, we used to call my
shout out Scotty Kahn, my boy.
Kahn. That's a great. We gotta get hit. Great. That's a
he'll come on.
Role.
We always joke around like we should do like some kind of skit Turtle. And
my
Tweeter,
boy was
where
Tweeter.
We just stay in character.
Oh yeah, my boy, my receiver, one of my college receivers, we used to call him Tweeter because he was just a short white receiver, kind of looked like Tweeter.
What a great case for Moxon you just made.
Yeah, Moxon. I mean, dude, Moxon. I think he ends up going to Brown.
Like he goes to Brown. He stays with his high school girlfriend.
Stays with his high school girlfriend. He could have been 1. I'm proud of my number 1, but Johnny Mox gets number 2 for me.
All right. Well, my number 2, it's Steamin' Willie Beeman. I
He's an icon. It's good. It's good.
And I even tried making the case for Dennis Quaid in that movie as Cat Rooney. He had the neck problems. He wanted to play. He was a gamer. Didn't quite do it. But just in terms of, again, who looks like a quarterback and kind of had all the, was making music videos, stuff like that. Like he was a content creator as well. Willie Beeman was a content creator.
He would fit perfect in this
as
generation.
well. It's just one of my favorite performances. That fight scene with him and LL Cool J's character was actually a real fight. And I encourage anyone to, Jamie Foxx's new Netflix special is tremendous. It's emotional, talks about everything with the stroke. It's really, really good. So Steamin' Willie Beeman.
I like that one. He was my 3rd with Ronnie Bass. But all right, I hope we don't have the first one here because I know you love this movie. And you've already talked about a character in this movie named Latimer. But
it's not my number 1.
All right, good. I'm going with Joe Kane from The Program. And I tell you what, Varsity Blues, Blue Chips, The Program, that era of sports. Actually, before we even get into this, you know what other sport movies came out that year of The Program? The Sandlot.
Oh, what a year.
Rudy and Cool Runnings. This is what The Program went up against, and The Program is one of the best football movies of all time. Joe Kane, ripping darts, riding motorcycles. Okay, this is what I thought quarterbacks were like, wearing the leather jacket, picking up the hot chick in the back, driving her through, making her scared on the motorcycle, Heisman candidate, alcohol problem. Joe Kane the movie is great. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie. It's awesome. Joe Kane is a stud in that movie. And then this is where it gets cool. So I was reading a deep dive on this. and I came across like this thread of all the actors and the director and basically talking about the casting and just like where they pulled players from. These were real players they were pulling from. Like, I think Joe Kane's character was based off a Penn State quarterback that backed up Kerry Collins at the time. It was like they pulled all these little stories from these people. So the director, I don't know his name, but the director was saying he originally wanted Johnny Depp to play Joe Kane. Because Johnny Depp was on 21 Jump Street at that time, right? Which he was like this young, charismatic. This was his quote. He's like, he was young, charismatic. He was like, I think that kid is going to be a star. That's what he thought about Johnny Depp at the time. But he obviously didn't get. So Craig Sheffer is the name who played Joe Kane. He's the actor. He comes in and his audition, and this is what you like about actually looking the part. He said he auditioned, he threw a football, I think on the lot. I think it's like the Disney lot or where they were. He said he threw the ball about 60 yards. And he's like, I just threw the ball because I could throw. And the director was like, okay, I think we got him. And that's sort of like, that's what I read, sort of how Joe Kane became Joe Kane. And that's how he got the role, which I think was fascinating. So Joe Kane's my number one, man, like all-time movie, all-time character.
I'm with you. I didn't put him in just because I love that movie so much. But let me just say, after that awesome reporting by you right there, we are all robbed from watching Johnny Depp throw a football on screen. We are robbed of seeing, because I love Johnny Depp's performances. There is no.
By the way, he's a big Dolphins fan. Really big Dolphins fan.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I got to know him a little bit over the years.
I've never heard Johnny Depp speak about sports in any capacity ever. He's never played any kind of an athlete ever. I'm probably wrong. I bet you he could throw a football, but I would bet money that I could throw a football farther than Johnny Depp.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
who's your number one?
I
think I have a guess.
Go ahead. Guess it.
What? I don't want to guess it.
Well, do you want to hear some funny honorable mentions? Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
I love, again, looking the part, Jerry O'Connell as Cush and Jerry Maguire. Sneaky good. Never saw him do anything athletic. Just didn't see it. I thought that was a really, really cool one. I almost gave love to the program for Tim. He could go all the Wayman. That dude, that must have been a real quarterback. He looked like and also Johnny Utah in Point Break. Keanu Reeves.
Utah, give me two. One of the most famous lines ever.
Was a quarterback, but my number one is, in fact, Keanu Reeves in The Replacements. Shane Falco. He just looks like a quarterback. I just look at it. I buy it all. The movie is, I think, good, not great, but I think it's aged well. Good performance from Gene Hackman. John Favreau, really funny as well. I'm going to rewatch it because I haven't rewatched it.
By the way, love the cheerleader. She was super hot in that movie.
Brooke Langdon, I believe. So I just, if you're giving me a guy, and I think, wasn't he lefty? Was it Keanu lefty?
He's lefty. He was good in that movie. By the way,
like Scott Mitchell or something.
Steve Young.
That was like his double, probably.
How about, do you remember the movie Lucas?
Of course.
Charlie Sheen.
Lucas. Yeah.
Charlie Sheen played the quarterback in Lucas, I think. Am I wrong on that? I think
I think you're right. Hey, Vince Vaughn was a quarterback in Rudy.
And Rudy, I know.
That was a good one.
The other one, Brendan Fraser in School Ties.
I
thought you were gonna go. It's kind of unoriginal, but Paul Crewe in The Longest Yard.
See, and I loved Adam Sandler. Yeah,
but you could have also done like all of the movies with Burt Reynolds, and then you got. I love The Longest Yard with Adam Sandler. I thought that was a great movie.
No, I'm standing by, but please, again,
I like it. Shane Falco is great.
Hit us on socials at Throwback. Subscribe to us on YouTube too, but also give us your Throwback 3. Who did we miss? Make the case. Most importantly, make the case. Matt, I thought you laid out one of the best cases from Moxon. And also, quick update from our amazing producer, Andrew Gunling. The last 1 and 2 picks to go in the same draft. Most recent was number 1, Courtney Brown, and number 2, LeVar Arrington from Penn State. And then I think you go all the way back to 1967, Bubba Smith and Clint Jones, Michigan State. So I don't know if we'll see it. It's in play, that's for sure. So enjoy the weekend, Matt. Enjoy one of the greatest trips known to man.
I'll see you Saturday.
Maybe I'll see you Saturday. And what a trip.
Come on, bro.
What a trip. Thanks, everyone.